Hey guys, so we're doing virtual learning. Unfortunately, we can't be experiencing these amazing plants in person. So I'm gonna walk everybody through virtual field trips. So this virtual field trip is for the mustard family Brassicaceae. So stay tuned and enjoy. All right, we have a Brassicaceous plant. Pretty sure this is watercress or one of the cress species, but it could also be a Arabidopsis. We're not going to worry about the exact species, but this is a brassicaceous plant. So a couple of things. This one looks like it's starting to produce seed pods already, which are these narrow capsules. I don't know if I can get it to bleed some yellowy sap, but it's a low-lying plant. The plants are at the second year of their life cycle where they are blooming to produce seeds. So we can see this is one of our brassicaceous plants. We've got field mustard here. It's another Brassicaceae. It's a wild mustard, basically. This looks a lot like kale, almost, if you see, or some of the other brassicaceous leaves that grow up the stems. You can see this very symmetric cross-shaped flower with the 4 petals. You can see those 4 long stamens and then the 2 short stamens alongside them. It's a cluster. Almost kind of looks like an opening broccoli stem. This is another brassicaceous plant. Here's a more isolated cress. Let's see if we can get closer to this guy. Growing among some sphagnum moss, which is a non-vascular plant. So we have a couple things going on here. We've got plants that are both vascular and non-vascular. And then we've got plants that are angiosperms. So these are both angiosperms, but these are dicots and these are monocots. Anyway, you can see the characteristic rosette of a brassicaceous plant. So it's got this lower rosette here, and then it makes this flowering stalk above it in its second year of life. Remember, they usually have a biennial life cycle where the first year is dedicated to storing energy for blooming in the following year. And then you've got the blooms, which are way too small for my camera to pick up on the symmetry and the 4 petals and such. But here we have cress. And these leaves are perfectly edible. Although this orchard had pesticides applied to it, so I'm not going to eat those. So I don't know how many other people out there like mustard. I love mustard. I like the sweet mustard and the spicy mustards. I love honey mustard. Dijon mustard is good. You know, any mustard I really love. To the point where I will just eat honey mustard with a spoon. I've actually tried honey mustard on ice cream, which I don't recommend because those 2 flavors are great separate, but together they taste really bad. But mustard family, gotta talk about mustard. So those little chunks in there are actually the mustard seeds. To make mustard, you basically get a whole bunch of mustard seed and some other ingredients. Let's see. So this has water, sugar, which is not surprising, some vinegar, some mustard. It says it right there, mustard. Salt, vegetables, a couple other, I don't know why they just say dehydrated vegetables without telling us what those dehydrated vegetables are. Other spices that aren't in the Brassicaceae, like turmeric. This is a really nice spicy mustard. I'm really hoping that people aren't going to accuse me of trying to promote any brands. That's not the goal here. It's for education. So that's one use of the Brassicaceae. This is another brassicaceous plant. Broccoli. You must eat your vegetables. So these are actually the floral buds, the florets, as they're called. You have your flower stalk, and they pick the broccoli well before the flowers actually open and the buds expand, as you can tell. I really wish we could have a dissection of one of these buds under a scope. But anyway, the flowers of a lot of the brassica are edible. I will pick kale flowers and things like that and eat them, and they taste basically just like broccoli. And you can see that the leaf itself looks a lot like a kale leaf. These are similar species in the genus Brassica. They actually have hybrids between several species that give us some of our vegetables, and then some of them are just cultivars of the same species. So this is broccoli. We eat the flower buds of broccoli. We eat the root storage organ of things like turnip and rutabaga. So recall, this is the underside, this is the upper side. The very top here is purple from a buildup of a chemical called an anthocyanin, and the anthocyanin serves kind of just to protect the tissue from radiation. So this is the part that would be slightly above the ground, so you'd have the turnip kind of going like this. And so this kind of just protects everything. You can see where the stem wants to come out of. Actually, we can see that stem fairly well. Maybe instead of eating this, we will let it grow. And you'll have new roots forming from the bottom there. This is all stored food for the plant because this is a biennial plant. They germinate one year, they grow as much as possible, they form a rosette. That's just a flattened mat of leaves that sits on the ground. They build this, and then we would harvest this at the end of the year. And then if we were to leave this in the ground the following year, this would be drained of its energy, so that flowering, similar to this, would occur, and you would get your seeds produced. Now, broccoli we've bred to flower the same year that it germinates, so it doesn't go through this whole process. Really interesting stuff. Brussels sprouts. These are leaf buds, almost like miniature cabbages. That's functionally what they are, but they grow along a tall stalk rather than just a single clump on the ground. I like to eat these raw. You can also steam them or boil them or do what you want with them. Some people like to boil out the sulfur compounds. Most of the Brassicaceae have sulfur compounds in them, kind of to protect them from herbivores. They can make the house smell really bad if you boil them to liberate those compounds, but it does make them taste less bitter. Some people like the bitteriness. I really like the flavor of these, raw or cooked. Some people don't. It's really up to you. It's a good healthy food source. And then we have another brassicaceous plant. This is spinach. Spinach is a really nice plant. I really like to eat it. It's very nutritious for you. A lot of the Brassicaceae I also use for tadpole food. I will blanch, lightly boil the vegetables, chop them up. You can store that in a freezer. Tadpoles eat it. It's very good for them. All right. So, I got some mustard in a bowl, and I'm just gonna dip some brassicaceous vegetables into the mustard. That mustard's got a kick to it. Wow. I like that. Well, I think it would be better for honey mustard, honestly, but that's not bad. Let's see. Spinach. That's some pretty good spinach, I'm not gonna lie. And you can do a lot with spinach. You can cook it, cream it, eat it raw. Makes really great for salad. When I went to the store to get all of the vegetables and fruits for these presentations for everyone. I tried to find kale because that's one of my favorite Brassicaceae plants. I mean, I like most of the Brassicaceae. They're really good, but I couldn't find any kale. I also couldn't find any peaches for the Rosaceae, but I did find something that was just as useful. So, let's see that. Let's see. So here's what I'm talking about with the Brussels sprout. You can see the attachment point there where it was on the plant. And if you kind of just peel back some of these leaves, you'll start to unwind just this mass of leaves. Now, tastes kind of like raw cabbage. I mean, that's kind of what it is. So if we keep peeling this back, we'll start to see leaves that are a lot lighter in color. You know, you have the darker outer leaves. These are less developed. They haven't really hit the sun yet. No real need to hold chlorophyll just yet. I mean, they're not going to be photosynthesizing until this really opens up. So, as you can start to see, we have all these nodes where the leaves are emerging from. And, you know, it's not just this densely compacted thing. It's a whole bunch of just layered leaves that haven't unraveled yet that are within one another, just resting like nesting dolls. I have a better idea how to make a good cross section for everyone. So here we have just all of those leaves that are kind of wrapped around each other. It's like this type ball. It's like wrapping paper almost. So that's the transverse section of the Brussels sprout. We can also make a sagittal section. And so you can see how it organizes itself. Of course, because the lower part is older, it's going to be bigger. Let's come up here first. So that is our virtual field trip on the mustard family. I hope I've entertained everybody and informed them while doing so.